Peoples, what's up? My name is Jason and I'm from the Shelf Stories YouTube channel, and I'm here in the Dice Tower today to review Hostage Negotiator. This was designed by A.J. Porfirio and published by Van Ryder Games. This is a solitaire only game of hand manipulation and dice manipulation, with the theme of being a hostage negotiator trying to rescue various captives from an abductor. This was reviewed a bunch of years ago at this point by our very own Z Garcia. He wasn't very into it, but the game has gone on. I mean, there's a lot of expansions for it, a lot of little expansions called Abductor Packs, a couple of big expansions, including a legacy-ish campaign mode called Career. So the game is popular, and there's a lot of content out there for it. So this is the first of a series of 4 videos that I'm going to do. One per expansion and also one focusing on the Abductor Packs. But I wanted to start off with just the base game. No expansions, no kind of adding in that as a score. I just want to talk about this particular product alone, feature that, and then move on to the other expansions. So without further ado, let's go to the videotape and take a look at Hostage Negotiator. All right, so this is a basic layout for Hostage Negotiator. No expansions or anything like that, just the base components that come out of the original box. All right, so this is a hand management and dice rolling game in which the goal of the game is to try to save as many hostages as you can. Here are the hostages, and you are trying to save them from an abductor. So this is Arcane Masua over here. He'll tell you how many hostages there are and what the threat level is at the beginning of the game. I'll tell you what threat is in just a second. All right, so but the basic thing that you're trying to do is you're going to play one at a time, as many cards as you can on a turn, and then the round will end. So a couple of things that I want to do at the very beginning. So first of all, this card says reveal a demand. What are your demands? There you go, nice and simple. Every abductor comes with a set of major demands or escape demand. You are going to want to reveal those because this is their enemy deck that gets a little bit worse if you have unrevealed demands, and you learn a little bit more about the abductor just in case you want to make a move or something. So then I'm going to play reveal a demand. I'll go ahead and discard that and I'll roll. Okay. So then normally, so as you can see, this would indicate successes. Only a 5 and a 6 are success on the dice. Everything else is dicey. 1, 2, 3 is blank. So that's terrible. 4 is not so bad. What it lets you do, it lets you discard cards from your hand in order to claim a success. So I'm going to discard those 2 cards. I'm going to get a success. And what the reveal demand says is I can just reveal the demand. Great. So then it gives you some sort of condition that you'll be able to meet a little bit later. So that doesn't come into play until later, but you want to reveal as many of those as you can right now. So what let me determine how many dice I roll is this threat meter over here. Oh, sorry about that. So if I'm in this kind of like general area, then I just roll 2 dice, and that's kind of what you'll be rolling for the large majority of the game. You can eventually get his threat down lower, or her threat for a female abductor. Lower, and then you'll be able to roll 3 dice, which obviously increases your chances. You sweet talked him, you convinced him that he has a plane coming, and I'm talking to his family and everything's gonna be okay, and I've really talked him down. Or I could just like screw up and threaten him and fumble my words, and then he gets madder and madder, which means that I would only roll 1 die, but generally you'd be rolling 2. All right, so obviously I'm going to want to try to calm him down. Which is that symbol over here. So I'd roll again. Lots and lots of roll in this game. So that would be a -1 conversation. Okay, so I probably don't want to go with -1 conversation too much. Conversation is the currency of the game, and that's how I buy these improved cards over here. So let me go straighten that out. So I could always spend more cards to get more, but I can always turn the cards around. So you see, if I go, 2 means I'd be able to convert a success, a face down card, but I can convert them into 1 conversation and be able to progress myself that way. So that's the end of my turn, and I don't get those back next round. So they would just go into the buy pile. So then I would just put them over here, and then the subsequent round, I will get these back. So I have my grand old one conversation. I'm going to buy this very valuable card, so reroll. So much dice rolling, you're going to want multiple copies of that card floating around. Once you spend them, you don't keep them. They don't have a discard pile. They go back in the market, and you got to repurchase them again. Some other cards, obviously just increased numbers. You get to make them calmer, and you get to eventually save people, which is kind of the point of the game, which is, kind of going like that. You need to get 4. If it's 7, you need to get 4, so at least half of the stated terror pool. So once I've done that, I'd be pulling that card. Oh, that's too bad. So that means that he kills a hostage, which is always an unfortunate thing. And also, this is why you want to reveal demands. If I have an unrevealed demand, more threatening. So the game is always putting pressure on you. So you're going to go through this. You're going to go through basically 10 cards in the terror deck, and it's just going to keep on going. And then eventually, after you play, look at that terrible card, you are going to get to the last card, and this could be really bad. This will really mess up your game. If at all possible, you want to try to avoid, a game that lasts until the pivotal event phase. But, you can't always help it, so you just reveal it and follow the terrible rule that it puts in and try to win the game. Speaking of winning, the only way that you could win is if this hostage pool is completely empty. So either they're in the killed pile or they're saved, but this pool has to be completely empty. And you have to actually capture the abductor. So there are cards that let you do that. So specifically, it'll say Abductor Eliminator or something like that. So this is a very, very expensive card, probably a one-shot kill, so to speak. Or if you rescue enough of these people and there's nobody in the pool, and you rescue somebody else, you kind of get another one of these head symbols, they surrender. If there are hostages left in the pool and you eliminate the abductor, second in command shows up and starts to accelerate the game end. They start taking out whoever's in the hostage pool, and then you have to take them out. All right, so that is Hostage Negotiator, at least with Arcane Masuya. Let me show you a couple of the other abductors. 2 more abductors in the base game. This is Donna Scarborough. She is a disgruntled teacher. She has taken her entire class hostage. So you see there's 12 hostages, which is a very, very high number. But she starts at a low threat, so that means you can get into that 3 dice area and you kind of like save people. Kind of a virtuous cycle that you can create with her pretty early. The other base character is Edward Quinn, who has very large medical bills, doesn't know what he's going to do. So he only has a couple of hostages, but his demand is that you could spend 12 conversation in order to, basically just win the game. So very different ways to play. Donna Scarborough, you're going to want to try to save hostages. Here, you're trying to have that big turn with a lot of conversation points. So you're going to get a lot of variety out of the box. All right, so that was Hostage Negotiator on the table. How I like to review games is talking about the headspace that the game generates, that player experience, both on the thematic end where your head goes imaginatively, and also where the decision space is, how the game challenges you logically and strategically. That is the strategic headspace. But theme first. I mean, Van Ryder Games is a thematic design company. This was, I think, AJ's Porfirio's first big hit of a design. And, the theme is going to try to, really leap out at you. And what I'll say is for a card game, this game does an excellent job with the theme. Now I'm understanding I'm grading on a curve because this is a very small product. It's not, a huge amount of board and art. It has to do a lot with very, very few components, and I really think it does. The art is evocative of, crime and, a very gritty kind of 80s cop movie type feel. But more than that, I think the key to the game is the sense of timing that you get when you play cards. So as I articulated in the run through, you play your cards, but then you have turns where you don't play cards. And I know that could be a little bit rough, like having just dead turns where you kind of let the boss do what it wants. But, that means that you're kind of it goes in waves, right? The tension goes in waves. So like you're gonna have turns where you feel like you're making a lot of progress, you're doing a lot, and you have turns where it doesn't go so well. And I feel like I'm a therapist, and I haven't done hostage negotiating work, but I've done crisis intervention, and that's kind of how it goes. You're having a conversation, you think it's going well, then all of a sudden, it's not going so well. And I know, like, AJ is kind of going off of movies, how that looks, but it does match up, in my experience. And then, you kind of come to that end, and there's a huge climax, and it's very cinematic with the way that, in terms of the pivotal event, that all just in terms of like the rhythm of the game and how exciting it is and how frustrating it is when you think you're making all the right moves and you're all saying all the right things, and the criminal, just for whatever his or her own reasons, just says, you know what, I'm not listening to you, which is represented by, not getting the dice roll. Or they listen to you and they just give you everything. So thematically, just on the face of it, it's very, very good. The abductors, oh man, this is only the beginning. I'm going to get into the further abductors, and they're all thematic in their own way. But even just the basic abductors, the teacher who's kind of stressed out, and the person who has a large medical bill, which this game was released a while ago, and it's only worse now in terms of people who have large medical bills and they have to like release GoFundMes. GoFundMe wasn't even a thing back then, and nowadays that is a way that people pay the medical bills, is with GoFundMes and different ways to raise money. I remember Rado had a big problem with that medical one in particular, because like you're kind of going against him. I actually, I got into it, and the fact that you can, kind of resolve that particular one by just, talking to him, and then he's like, if you could talk to him well enough, he just releases all the prisoners. Excellent. I mean, just thematically really, really good. The one big problem, and this is a big problem, and it comes up in some games that I have thematically, is that second in command. So in order to win the game, you have to clear out that hostage pool, right? And what happens is sometimes you can save all the hostages and everything's fine, but sometimes you eliminate the abductor and there are still hostages in that pool, which means the game goes on. And the way the game kind of resolves that is that you get rid of the abductor, you get that second in command that starts shooting victims. Come on. I mean, just the fact that you have to keep the game going, even though there's hostages in the pool, you don't always have the ability to save those hostages. And a matter of fact, because the game only ends when the hostage pool is empty, you almost rooting for that guy to just start taking out hostages and killing them so that you get the game over faster. And from a game perspective, that's fine. And I could tell that the second in command card is put in to kind of like hurry along the end game, get to a clean pool. But I'm rooting for people to die. And in some games, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens in some games, and I really viscerally I can't get myself to that, even if it's the smart play, strategically, thematically, it's just, so I'm gonna kind of ding this particular product. That issue gets addressed in future expansions, but in terms of this particular product, gonna have to get a little ding from me. All right, I have belabored the point enough. Here comes the strategy talk. And this is the big problem that Z had with the game. So it's random. It's dice. There's a lot of times where you're just, the best laid plans is nothing you can do and you're rolling whatever. 3 of the faces are blank on each particular die. So it is not out of the realm that you just get an entire run of nothing. Z is absolutely right in that respect, and the people who complain about this game for its randomness are, that it's staring you right in the face, and it's kind of unapologetic about it. AJ wanted that experience, and I'll talk about that in a second. Not only that, the card draw, the terror cards. I mean, you might get a terror card, a draw of minor demands, and nothing really happens, and the game is kind of like serene, or you might get a card like this one that says discard half the terror deck. If you get that first, you're discarding 4 cards. That's 4 turns. Are you kidding me? That's nuts. And if you're like breaking into this game for like the first and second time, you're just playing it, you get that card, you're going to throw this thing out the window. That is not what you're supposed to do. I mean, Yes, you could play without it, but if you're a newer player coming into this, experiencing a card like that or some of the other like really bad luck cards, if you have like a bad luck roll with the dice, especially early, like you can get behind the eight ball in this game and just feel like, all right, I'm not going to win this. I'm moving on with my life without even giving the game a chance. So that's all there, and I have to really look that in the face and say, yep, that's true. However, and you knew there was a however coming because if I only stopped there, why would I be doing a new review? I don't want to evaluate a game based on the worst possible outcome. Yes, that's there, but once you get past it, let's say you have decent luck, not even good luck, just like kind of middle of the road luck, or you figure it out a little bit. Like there are definitely things that you can do to mitigate what's going on. And also, turning those cards over and having one conversation point. Like if you're having a couple of bad rolls and you just don't have the resources to continue like ensuring success, turn those cards over. Put them in the, just get conversation points, get better cards, get cards that give you extra dice, give you successes on the fours, give you re-rolls, just get stock up on mitigation and, and play the turnout and you'll be fine. And that's the thing. If you get past that initial kind of luck wall that the game can present to you sometimes and really get into the guts of it, you could win, 60, 65, maybe even 70% of the time, which is kind of my win rate for this game. If this game was only lucky, I'd never get to that. Because I worked with it and I played it. I read forums and I asked AJ some strategy tips. We did an episode of my old podcast. We talked about the strategy of it, and he told me a couple of things. You get past it, and there is strategy there. So not only is there some strategy there in terms of just your general overall approach, each of the abductors is a little bit different. And I'm just talking about the base box, 3 abductors. You have to beat them 3 different ways for the most part. Donna Scarborough has a lot of people to save, but she starts very close to that S, save. So like you can just, you do a lot of soothing. I call it save and soothe, save and soothe, save and soothe, save and soothe. And you could just like, constantly ferry people out by having her on the phone. That's one approach, one set of market cards you buy. With the Edward Quinn character, you have to build those conversations. And, you don't buy the soothe cards, you buy the conversation plus cards. And eventually you get to 12 and, you can rescue him. And I'm pretty successful with him. I don't struggle with him too much because I know what to do. I know when to discard for conversation. I know when to, not just throw everything into reveal a demand. Had to learn that, So it's really nice that outside of just inside this little box, there's enough mixing up of strategy in order to give you a decent time. So it is limited in terms of the replay. Like, you play those 3 abductors enough, then you kind of get over them. But by the time you get there, maybe you've gotten about 5-6 plays in, maybe, up to 10 even. And have you gotten your money's worth for, whatever the product is, $25-$30 it costs? Relative, especially in today's market where, $25 might get you, I don't know. You have to decide that for yourself. So my final thoughts, just reviewing just the base game, take the pluses and the minuses together. I'm going seal of approval. Sorry, Z. Thematically is doing enough well despite my one big misgiving. Strategically, if you get past the randomness and you kind of learn how to play a little bit, and you don't get frustrated by that wall of luck maybe at the beginning where you don't know how to play, there's a lot there. And it's a small package. It's not very expensive. The replay value is not quite there for me, but that's because this is the base package, and I'm going to review the extended content in another video. All right, so that's it. My name is Jason, reminding you to visit me at my channel, Shelf Stories. Shelf like this guy over here, and story like a storybook. That's my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Shelf Stories GBL on Facebook. I'm also reminding you, if you could change your mind, you could change the world. So until next time, later, everybody.